My name is William Kent, and I'm from Norman, Oklahoma.
Norman, I was just in Norman, bro. We were watching the OU game. It was my first ever football game I've ever watched. And we were there watching the OU game there. Are you a football fan or anything? Or no?
Um, It's funny. So I'm not like I live here, and I've lived here for about 5 years, but I'm kind of from all over. But no, I haven't watched one football game in my whole life.
Okay, so we're both on the same page there, I guess. I'm not really a big football fan either, so
I live right by OU, like
really
literally like right next to the campus, and never watched a game.
that's hilarious. Yeah, I was there like 4 days ago, so I missed you. You were at the Pumpkin Holler whenever I was there. Um, you ran 100 miles in really fast pace. What place did you end up finishing? It looks like you did really well.
That was first. That was the course record.
Let's
That's
go.
that's something I've been wanting to do for. I've been like staring at this race for 3 years now,
Yeah,
and just like ultra sign up with my index finger like shaking like do I want to, and every year I get a fracture or something would go wrong or I'd be broke and just couldn't do it. And so there's been a lot of planning going into this.
yeah, yeah, man. It was cool to see how fast you ran that thing. I don't know how many hours you ran it in, but it was fast, man. It was very fast. But before we go into that, I wanted to track back. So the first time I ever met you, which I didn't realize at the time, you had come to the Texas Diablo Marathon, the hardest 26.2 mile marathon in Texas. And I pick you up in my truck because you and another guy go off course for a little bit.
What? I just figured this out. I was looking at my stuff and looking at a DNF that I had, and I was like, I looked at my bib and it said Texas Outlaw. I just did that today. I didn't had no idea that was your race, and I didn't know that was you that picked me up.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I didn't link it together till I looked at your ultra sign up results. Like probably when you came out to the backland, I looked at your ultra sign up results, and you had come out to the Texas Diablo Marathon, and that's the race we put on one time. And you came out there. I guess you DNF'd.
Man, so what? It was like 109 degrees, something like that.
Yeah,
And I
and
remember this so vividly. It like screams in my mind. Like, I'm like, well, I got this. Just a marathon, no big deal. Like pride just knocking at the door. I'm like, I'm gonna do like 7 minute miles, 6.5 minute miles. I'm just gonna murder this. I'm like, no big deal. Like mile 24, just completely the whole body goes rigid. And this old timer, he might have been, I don't even know. I don't know how old he was, but I mean, probably about twice my age. And he runs by me and he throws some salt tabs at me. And he's like, looks like slow and steady won the race this time. I
he
was
said
like,
he said that to you.
yeah. And we're friends now on like Strava and stuff. Like, he deserved it. You know what I mean? I was the cocky one who thought I was the cool kid.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
It
That's
haunts my dreams.
Well, now you know, man. That's where we first met without realizing it. And I yelled at you to get in the bed of my truck, and I took you 2 miles extra to the next aid station, and you had to run 2 miles extra. But um, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, that's where we first met without you even realizing it. Where we first really met was it at the Backlands? Was that where we first really met?
Yeah, the
Or
backland.
yeah, yeah, that is
Because I
because I
got there
remember.
way early. I got there
Yeah,
before anybody else was, and you were like setting up, and I'm like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like pumped. I'm like, hey, bro, what are we doing?"
yeah, yeah. That's what I remember. I remember I was setting up, man. And next thing you know, 5 minutes later, bro, I say something about Jesus, and like you hop on it, bro. You just go all in on it.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody earlier about like running had kind of taken like it become like an idol in my life, and it's like I'm trying to like constantly fill this like God-shaped hole with all this extracurricular things. For instance, I just like smashed a dream of mine. Like I was like, this is it. I'm gonna just crush this 100-mile record, and I'm gonna feel so accomplished and great and amazing. And none of that happened.
Yeah.
I actually felt terrible. This past 3 days has been like an emotional, depressing roller coaster of just pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, man. With what you did, I mean, it's gonna put a hurting on your body for sure, dude. Was that your
That's what drew me to your races, though, is finding other people that believe in Christ was you know definitely something that you incorporated into your races a little bit, that I had never seen done before. So that
praise
drew
the
me to
Lord.
your race.
Thanks. That's good to hear, man. We actually one of our races, man, we're gonna have the day before the race, we're gonna have a sermon, like church and a sermon. Like I'm gonna preach and we're gonna have people that want to come. It's gonna be after early packet pickup on Friday, and we're gonna have a church service. I'm gonna do that in January for a race. But that's the first time we're doing that because I know that guy you sent me. There's that guy that travels around to races and he has church, and that was really cool that you sent me. And I reached out to him. Um, but but with that being said, bro, can I hear? I want to hear you. You kind of shared it briefly when we were at the backland, and only if you want to share. If you don't feel comfortable, like just say it. But could you share a little bit of your testimony there, man, of coming to Christ, what that was like what it was like before, and how you came to Him?
Yeah, absolutely. My I kind of had an interesting past, a pretty colorful past. There was like, I don't even know, since I was 15 ish, there was just like homelessness, drug addiction. um just I was in prison for about 5 years of my life. Just, I mean, it was like I was like just distraught, bro. There's just nothing in my life. Like I was robbing people and hurting people and lying to people, and I was way. I mean, I'm a runner, dude. I mean, I'm like probably 160 pounds right now. I used to weigh like 120, 115,
No.
and I looked like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. It was
Yeah.
awful, and
Yeah.
so I was in the penitentiary, and I could have learned like there's two different paths I could have gone. Well, there's a few different paths I could have gone. I could have like learned how to be a crook a little bit better. I could have done drugs while I was in there. I could have went a million different ways, but at that point in time, I hadn't found the Lord, and I feel like the Lord was working on me, and I didn't really know it. I wasn't really getting in trouble or like doing anything crazy. So what I ended up doing was, there's a 1/4 mile dirt track at the prison yard, and I would just run around it over and over and over and over and over. And so that's actually like where I started to like fall in love with running. And it kind of gave me an identity, and it gave me like a purpose, and all of those things.
Yeah.
And so that's where I ran my first marathon in prison.
Wow.
The guards let me run during count, which was unheard of. Like when it's count time, everyone goes to their racks and they need to be counted. But they had just seen me over years and years just going around this loop, and they're like, "Oh, he's doing his first marathon." I got like combat boots on and full
Yeah.
like gray, orange and gray outfit, and they let me do it, man. It was like 96 laps around that little dirt track, and and that's not where I found God, because most people say that. They'll say, "Oh, I was a drug addict and a junkie, and I went to prison and I found God," and like that just wasn't the case. I got out and battled a whole bunch more issues, like depression, like self-esteem issues, like alcoholism. I hit the bottle like hard when I got out. And I mean, I got out just under 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to put my focus on all these runs. I'm just going to keep running and running and running. So I was like, bam, I'm smashing these runs out. I'm doing good. I'm like getting first place in all these runs. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, but I'm still alone and I'm still by myself and I'm still like battling this depression and this anxiety and this alcoholism. People on the outside, they're like, oh my gosh, he's got it. You know what I mean? Like man, he's a champion. I'm like, yeah, if you only knew, if you
Yeah.
only knew the demons that I'm battling. And it actually wasn't until last year um that I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
Um, it was an interesting situation. I was drunk, miserable, on my floor, like crying out to God, like, take this pain away from me. And so I sobered up a little bit, not much, but I mean, and I got in my car and drove straight to church. I went to church and I went to an altar call. And it was this church that I hated. I didn't like it. Every time I drove by it, it just irritated me because they had all these lights and festive things. And I'm like, that's where all your tithes and offerings going to?
Yeah.
Christmas lights? Like, I found out later, now that I volunteer at this church, that they get those lights donated. But so I felt really dumb. But I got there and there's a gentleman named Brian Wiley, and he prayed with me. And then he sat with me for like 2 hours and we just talked and he prayed with me some more. And like we both started crying. And like I'm not like a super vulnerable guy. I'm real cold and stone heart and like
Yeah.
and he just dude, I was like hugging him and I just wept, man. And I was like, man, this is it was just a weird experience. And I knew right then that my whole life had changed. Like there was about to be a whole lot more conflict. Like it's about to get harder, but I have somebody like working with me and working inside of me. And but I didn't talk to this dude again. I left that church and never went back.
Mm.
Went back to kind of doing my own thing. Felt a little bit better, but it wasn't until 6 months later he called me out of the blue and he's like, "Sup, man? I got a Bible study I'm starting. You want to come hang out at the house and talk to some other fellows?" And that's when it just lit a fire. I got around all these other men that are literally going through the same deal. Got 3 kids and a wife, and like they're all battling the same issues I'm battling. Like, and I'm like this young single crazy dude. Like, we're all the same. We all got the same issues, man.
Yeah.
And from there it was like a fire, bro. I'm like in the word. I'm going to church all the time. Like sharing like the news like at work and stuff, like people are starting to notice a little bit of a change in me. Like I'm not like f this and f that, I'm like, and I'm putting the bottle down, I'm putting the drink down. And it was just like things just kept getting easier and easier to be like kinder and like a little bit more patient, a little bit more this, a little bit more that. And like I'm still struggling, you know
Yeah.
but and I think everyone is. If you say you're not, you're a liar.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's how it started, man. It started one drunk night, and I showed up at a church that I didn't want to go to, and from there it just took off.
It's wild, man. What kind of I am curious and asking, what kind of church is this? Is this like a non-denominational, Baptist, Pentecostal? What kind of church is this? I'm just curious myself.
It's non-denominational. It's a Victory Family Church
Yeah.
here in Norman.
Sweet, man.
Uh, it's just a community. Like I felt immediate community there. Like there's, I mean, you can go home and watch preachers on YouTube, and like, I mean, I think church is just where other Christians are gathered, and like we can strengthen each other and build each other up. Like we don't have to like it doesn't have to be piano music and then 3 songs and then we'll do 30 minutes of preaching and then we'll we'll do tithe and offerings, and then we'll do the bulletin board. Like we don't have to. We can all just sit in a circle and talk about what God's doing in our lives. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to hear,
but
man. And I want to ask you, but like off of that, man. So would you say that running before that was an idol?
absolutely.
Yeah. What was that like overcoming that?
So a brother of mine had mentioned that you can still do the running. He's like, but how is it like be intentional? How is it going to glorify God? Like, what can you do differently to not make it about you? I said, because God gave you the gift and the ability to run the way you do. And it's like, maybe that's just talking to other people about Jesus while you're running, because we're out there for 20 hours straight or whatever, some crazy amount of time. You got time to like tell people what Jesus is doing in your life, right? But and that's just it. Like the running church guy, he's comes from a crazy past, like and now he just I'm gonna just do a service before each run. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go run these 100 milers, tell people about Jesus, like, and then when I get done with a run, like I post something on Strava and I'm like, people are like, whoa, he just ran 50 miles, like for no reason. He just woke up one morning and ran 50 miles. But I try to like be a little bit like I'll throw a Bible verse on there maybe sometimes, or I'll just say like I say like thank you Jesus for the legs like that you gave me, like thank you for giving me this ability, because I couldn't like I wouldn't be here without him. You know what I mean? Like this isn't me, and that's why this whole podcast thing was weird to me too, because I was like I felt like it's like self focus almost. I was like you're like we're going to talk about you, and I'm like oh no I need to quit talking about myself because it's all about me. I live alone, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to get it on God and not off of me.
Well, we did, bro. Like we're not even, I don't know how much time we're in now, 20 minutes in and we already have. So that's important, man. And a lot of people, if they even stuck through the podcast to this point, thank you for sticking around, because a lot of people, once they hear the gospel and they hear testimonies or about Jesus, they hop off the podcast because they don't believe or whatever, right? So those who are and have stuck since the beginning, thank you for that. Seriously, thank you. And thank you for sharing, dude. Hey, and real quick, hey, your nickname, I call you Billy, and it ain't Billy, it's Billy. And so I'm gonna call you Billy every time I talk on the podcast. Whenever I'm like talking about
Like,
you. So, real quick, I guess either you can explain that story or I can, but at the backland, the owner's son came out, and his name's William. And William Kent, that's on the podcast now, is also William. And so to not get the two confused, we called William Kent Billy, right? Did I get
yeah,
that
that's
story right?
right. I remember
Okay.
I would high five that kid, dude. Like I would high five him like every time I went around. He's like, "You're gonna win." I'm like, I don't know about that.
Dude, that race was crazy. I mean, that's something to talk about there, dude. Because it was like 11 o'clock at night. Maybe it was like 1 a.m. It was freezing. It was muddy. It was raining, and you were like, I don't even remember what you were saying, man. What were you saying?
Oh, this I want to give a since I'm getting to do this and you've given me the opportunity to speak, I'm super grateful. And I just want to say I want to give a shout out to Paul. Remember that? Every lap I'd be like, Paul. So
Yes,
Teddy Madden is this guy. I call him Paul because he's like a father figure in my life. He's the one man crew. All these races I go to, I mean, he'll be out there doing what five people can do. And I'd be singing songs and just shouting and screaming and dad, and we'd be in there like in the tent, like smoking cigarettes and listening to music super loud, like getting pumped up.
I remember that. And y'all had a tent, and y'all had everything set up. Like every time you'd come through, he'd give you a pair of dry socks. And Yeah, y'all were just pumped up, putting this game face on, and then I don't know what time hits, 3, 4 a.m. and it gets quiet.
Oh man, so it was like, man, I'd say like 1 o'clock, and he like he like lit me a cigarette and it cooked me like a ribeye steak. So I like ate part of the steak, smoked a little bit, and then went out for my next lap. And I was like, oh no, everything crumbled. Like I started coming through the loops and there was no paw. There was no like, yeah. The demons had arrived and I was sitting there battling. Like I felt kind of embarrassed because I was so pumped up for like 15 hours or 14 hours. And then I just completely shut down and started getting like depressed and like, I can't finish it. I'm tired.
Yep, yep. Yeah, dude, that was such a funny. That was a cool race, man. And for the people listening, that race was the last person standing race. I don't know how many miles you went to, but it was muddy and it sucked. But you, I don't know, you probably like did like 70 miles, I think, or something.
It was 86.
86. You remember the exact amount too. I like that.
Oh yeah, because I was and I tried to do another lap, so it was really 88. I got like halfway on the next lap, and then I was like turned around and went back, or
Yeah,
like maybe a quarter way.
yeah, yeah.
Paul was like slapping me in the face. He's like, "Come on, man!" Like literally, like slapping me in the face.
Yeah, yeah, man. But yeah, then you threw in the towel, and then the race went on. It's not too far. It's not too much farther. About
Oh, them dudes are nuts. Was it Philip and then Chad and then who's the Peterson? What's
yep,
his name?
Nick Peterson. Yep,
And they went on to do like 200-mile races and 250
yep,
mile races.
yep.
That
They
was
sure
like a
did.
little training stop for them.
Yeah. So I want to know, dude. Going into. Oh yeah, and then after that, I saw you at Bandera the next month doing the 100K, which we don't have to talk about that if you don't want to. That was funny.
We'll do I'm not gonna do a full story, but we'll just say I went down there with a friend, and the friend decided to leave me down there. And so I did not have a crew for Bandera. And that was interesting, but it made me dig deep. Like when you don't see your crew, you know, at your aid stations, you have to figure out like on the fly. Like not everything's gonna be perfect. Oh, I had the right shoes, I had the right goos, I had the right everything. Like, you know, everything was great. And then, uh-oh, what do I do now? I saw
Yeah.
you and you were like, don't worry about it, bro. You got shoes on your feet, bro. Keep running.
Yep, I remember saying that. Yeah.
I think I had 45 chocolate goos that were expired. That
You
was
ate
disastrous.
you ate 45 views that were expired.
Chocolate. That's the only thing I could stomach is those chocolate goos.
Jeez, bro. That's a lot of goose, dude.
It
Yeah,
was good
yeah.
times.
I remember that. You came through mile 30. Like you're like, where's she at, bro? You're like, have you seen so and so? And we never saw her. You ended up going on with no crew, but hey, you finished it though. So that's what matters. But um yeah, dude, and then after that, I saw you at the North Texas Ultra 50 miler that you crushed. You ran really fast on that one. It's a flat gravel course. You did good. And that was in training for the Pumpkin Holler 100 miler. Tell me a little bit about this Pumpkin Holler race because I noticed when you told people about it or you asked people about it, not a lot of people knew what it was. So could you tell me a little bit about this race and how it got on your radar?
So it's been going on for this will be the 13th year they put it on. And it's I go out there to float every year. So it's on the Illinois River. And I had always seen the course and I ran a little bit, you know, a little 10 milers on the course just to see what it was like. So I had bought my first pair of trail shoes from I don't know if I'm getting the name right, so you know I might butcher it here, but Jimmy Strayhorn, uh, you know he worked at Red Coyote here in Oklahoma City, and this is a long time ago, and he got the course record of that race 3 years ago. And then he did some other races and got picked up from a shoe company. And then now he lives in Arizona. But I had just been kind of following him and watching some of the races he do. And I had just always been looking at that race. I don't know why. I don't know why it was. I think it was because it's right in the middle of, because you could do like Prairie Fire, which is a completely flat course in Kansas. But to me, that's not like, hey, yeah, you've accomplished the 100-mile mark, but I want it to be like a little bit more challenging than that. Like, but I don't want it to be like Outlaw 100 here in Oklahoma, which is like, I don't know, 30,000 feet of gain either, you know? So it was like the sweet spot. There was some hills, you know what I mean? And it was a looped course. Like I could kind of, it just looked like the perfect one. And every year, right when it came time to push that send button, I would get a stress fracture. I get a stress fracture like twice a year. I have this crazy goofy stride. Like my legs, my feet, I'm looking like a penguin when I run. And it's kind of embarrassing. But so yeah, man, I kept, like, a lot of buddies of mine have done that race. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. So who puts this race on? This Pumpkin Holler. Who puts this race on?
oh, what is it? Who is it? Tartar Racing?
Harder Racing. Where are they based out of? Oklahoma?
I'm not sure, man. I don't really, that's the problem, man, is I don't really do a whole much of digging and research. I did kind of on this run, but normally I just show up. Like your race, that 50 miler, I showed up like 20 minutes before it started.
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
like I didn't look at like an aid station. I didn't look at what you guys like, nothing. I just click send, show up, and just start running. I don't stretch. I don't do anything. I don't do strength training, none of that.
That's funny. So what's your well, I remember what your training looked like going into this race. You like woke up one day, did a random 40-mile run. Do you have anything planned, or is it just kind of what you feel like doing?
Um, I don't really have anything planned. The original goal was to get a golden ticket and go to Western States. So that's where I wanted to do Bandera last year. I was looking at probably top 10 if I would have continued, if I would have had the things that I needed and to do the running that I wanted to do. I think I could have probably pulled top 10, but I wasn't ready for a golden ticket. I got a lot more training to do. I got a lot more. It's all about nutrition, and I still have to dial that in because I'm still puking and crapping my pants at mile 80 or 70 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to do that. So I'm thinking probably Rocky Raccoon, or I might do Bandera again, coming up. And then in 3 weeks is right in my backyard is the Thunderbird 100K. Um, so that's in Thunderbird Lake and right about 12 miles from Norman. So I'd be a fool not to go do that one.
Yeah. So your goal is to get the golden ticket at a race and then take that golden ticket and go to the Super Bowl of ultramarathons. Is that your goal?
That's it.
That's it. And so I don't know if you know this, but Bandera is no longer a golden ticket race as of this year.
Oh no.
News.
You just crushed my dreams.
Bro, listen though, listen. I don't know if it's if they've updated it yet or not. You'd have to go and double check my words there on the website. But last time I talked to one of the race directors, it is no longer a golden ticket race. However, I think the nearest one to us in Texas, in Oklahoma, I think the nearest one is going to be in Arizona, but I could be wrong.
Oh, is that
That
what? Black Canyons?
Yeah, something like that. But that's stuff you're gonna have to double check on me. So, um,
And
Yeah.
that's not like that was always a dream. And I think it's almost, I mean, a lot of ultra runners are, they all want to get to Western States. Like it's just, it's almost, it's like Boston for marathon running. Like it's just nice to be surrounded. The entire town, the entire city, like the entire place is just full of nothing but runners. It's like the mood is, it's infectious. Like there's an old school runner here in Norman. His name's Danny Ponder,
Yep.
and he actually ran at the Backland.
Yep.
He's been kind of like giving me some help, some advice, and he's telling me about Western States, and I got the bug, and I'm all, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. But here's the thing, like once again, I'm gonna go back to like trying to fill that God shaped hole, because like I did the marathon running for a little bit, and I went and ran Boston, and I got done running Boston. I was like, that was dumb. It wasn't like, it was all right, but it wasn't like I could have just ran a marathon at home
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
spent $2,000.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's just something to look forward to.
Yeah, man. Um, yeah, you're right. It is something a lot of people look to do in their lifetime. It's not many people get to do it. And I wanted to real quick talk about two things. I'm gonna write them down before I forget. Um,
I like
so
this.
first
This is
off,
fun.
Danny, when you first met Danny Ponder, at the Backland, I remember this is so funny. I could overhear y'all. You're like, where are you from? He says, Norman. And you're like, you're a Normanite too? He's like, I'm a Normanite, man. Like you started saying Normanite. Uh,
Normanites.
that is hilarious, dude. But anyways, tracking back to the Western States, man. So I don't know, you might know this is what I'm doing. Maybe you don't, since you don't look at details, you told me. But I wanted to create something like Western States in Texas and available for people that live around Texas. And so, as you know, I created the Texas Ultra Championship. It's being renamed the Big Texas Ultra next year.
Right.
But you have to qualify to get to it. And when you do get to it, you compete to win cash, bunch of prizes, and all like it's just and if you qualify, you get a golden 100K belt buckle. If you don't qualify, but you just do the regular 100K, you get a silver belt buckle. But that was inspiration from Western States because it's so competitive, but there's not anything like like they got the NFL and then they got like the sub NFL, like the I don't even know what it's called. But like it's like these
Different leagues or whatever.
yeah, it's basically like the you got the major leagues and the minor leagues. There's not really many minor league, quote unquote, minor league races in the South around where we're at. So
Mhm.
I created like a minor league kind of race called the it's gonna be renamed the Big Texas Ultra. But you got to qualify. So to qualify, I got 4 races in Texas you can qualify at, and you got to get top 7. And if you get top 7, you get to go to the championship. And there, like I said, you get to win money and stuff.
This
Um,
is in Georgetown, right?
yeah, so the championship's in Georgetown, which is near Austin, and it's going to be in November. And so the next year's all the qualifying races for 2023 are over. We got the race in like a few weeks, and then next year we're gonna have our qualifying races open back up starting in February, and people will be able to start qualifying at races. We got races all over at different months, and if you qualify, you can get in. So yeah.
Man, I now I regret not signing up for the 100K when I went to the North Texas Ultra. Because if I would have won that one, I could have gone to Georgetown, right?
Yeah, yeah, because if you would have ran, well, I don't know how many more miles, 10 more miles. If you would have ran 10 more miles, you could have made it to the championship in Georgetown November. But that's a small gap between the Pumpkin Holler and that. So
Oh yeah, it was dangerous.
yeah,
I was I really I was mentioning the Western States, and that's a dream, and that's something cool, to work towards. But if I don't make it there, that's all right. It's not a big deal. But getting back, like getting a chance to like it's all about me. It's all about me. I,
Yeah.
I really want to like you kind of giving me opportunity to come volunteer at some of the races, and I want to get involved that way. And I also like, people will give me a shout out and be like, "Hey man, do you think you could pace me for a run?" And I'm like I really I really want to, and then I'll look at the sign up. I'm like, no, I gotta run that race. It's I'm trying to get away from myself, you know what I mean? Because you're gonna find true happiness and joy in helping others.
Yeah.
And, and if I just keep thinking about myself and like championships and winning races, like I'm never gonna like truly be happy. I think that's just
Mm.
something I so
Well,
maybe I'll go volunteer at Backland and see what it's all about.
yeah, dude, come out and pull it on all nighter for me. I will tell you that I think you can have a healthy balance. I think it can be 50-50. 50% of your time you race when you usually wouldn't, or when you do, and 50% of the other time you serve when you would usually race, if that makes sense. So I think
Yeah.
you can kind of healthily do it, and then whenever you get older and your knees or whatever don't work, you can just serve all the time, dude. Unleash, unleash. Tell me about this Pumpkin Holler race, man, start to finish. Tell me about it.
Like so I get there, set up my tent. This is the first race I ever did where I slept at the start finish line. Because normally I'll get a hotel, and I'm kind of bougie, so I want my shower and all those good things. So there was no sleep at all. I just like sat there in my tent and stared at the start finish line. Like, and it's freezing cold. I didn't bring a blanket or pillow or anything, and I was just
Yeah.
like shivering, just waiting for the race to start. And
That's hilarious, man. Sorry you had a rough experience there.
oh yeah, it was unpleasant.
Oh man.
So I'll be getting a hotel next time. Uh it's so weird. So I started serving at my church, and I met this dude, or I met his wife, and she was telling me about her husband. She was saying like, "Oh, my husband Angel, he wants to run this 100-mile race." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Which one is it?" And he's like, "Pumpkin Holler." And I was like, "Oh," I turned into like a little kid. I was like, "Where's he at? Where's he at?" So we started training a little bit, and we decided we're both going to run together, and like pretty much, you know, uh, pace each other, like have somebody to talk to through it all. And we had the same goals in mind. Um, he had never ran more than 31 miles, more than a 50K. So, I was hoping he's going to be all right, because it took me a long time to be able to get to, but some people can do that. Some people can just run 0 miles and then run 500. Some people are just built like that.
Yeah.
So we both start together, and good. Like, it's that first, like, they hit the start button, we're out, we're running. And this other cat joins us, and he calls himself, I don't remember his name, so I apologize, dude. Calls himself the Hobo Runner. So he's got no home. He hitchhiked there.
Wow.
And so he's got a like a disability. So there's a company that pays for him to get entered into these races. Like, some of them will just sponsor him because of his disability.
Wow.
And I think it was like a car wreck or something. You meet all kinds of cool people at these races. So it's us three. We all want the course record. This is all of our first 100 milers.
That's funny.
What could go wrong? Because I'm sitting here like, if we're all three at the end, like at the finish line, like, uh, what are we gonna do? Like, I
Yeah.
was like, are we all just gonna run through at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so we run together for about 40 miles, and that's that first lap. There's a first lap is so it's 30-mile loops, but the first one has a 5-mile out and back. Um, so we finished that first loop, and it's starting to heat up. I mean, it's not crazy hot like the North Texas Ultra. That was terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was probably 85 degrees. I don't know. But after running 40 miles, you're like already like overheating. And you know what? One of my buddies, I just didn't see him again. We went and got checked in with our like our crew, you know, and then I started my second lap, and I didn't see either of them. I was kind of like, I was excited because I was like, okay, I got this. I'm gonna get first. But then I was sad because I'm like, now I got to deal with all these demons in my head because I'm by myself again and I'm alone. Like running, like when you're in like the top position in a race, it really sucks because you're like truly battling with yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him again after that. My buddy Angel, I didn't know where he went. I didn't see him again. And then the hobo runner appears like 10 miles down the road out of nowhere. So let me bust this out. This dude's got nothing. He's got no crew, no food, no water, no like anything.
Yeah.
He's running with like a 10-ounce Gatorade bottle, and that's it.
That's
Dude
insane.
didn't like eat at all. He's like, well, I'm homeless, bro. I'm used to not eating. And I'm like, what? He's like, I do all my runs with no food.
That's
I'm like, at some point in the race, I'm like, am I like hallucinating? Is this really happening? Or is this like a guardian angel like pushing me through this race? Because he's the most positive person I've ever like encountered in my life.
that's insane, man.
And so like, and then he'll disappear again. Like he would leave, and then I'd be running for another like hour and a half, and then all of a sudden he'd appear again. He's like, "Hey, brother, nice day for a jog."
Oh, man.
Uh,
Are you sure this guy's real, or was he really like an angel dude just showing up?
so if you go on Facebook, I don't know what this guy's name. I'll have to look it up later, but he made a video of the whole race. So he walked the whole 100,
Oh wow.
and he
Okay.
videotaped everybody and made this crazy cool video, and kind of like gave, you know, showed all what was at all the aid stations. And I love when people do that because like, you know, I don't have the ability to do that. I just want to like get it done, you know, but
Yeah.
he actually enjoyed it and like got to see like different personalities and showing everybody off. It was just super cool. But it showed a video of us three running by. And I was like, he's not an angel. He's not, he is a real person because he's on Facebook, dude, the hobo runner.
That's hilarious, man. That's really neat.
So we get second. Okay, so 40 miles is the first loop, feeling good. I'm like super conservative. I'm like, I'm chilled out. And I know that Jimmy's pace, when he set that record, he's super fast. Like he's really fast. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to knock it by much. If I do, it'll be maybe like 5 minutes. So I wasn't gonna try to like sub 16 hours or sub 15. Like I'm not like, I'm just gonna follow the exact thing he did, and then the last loop do it 5 minutes faster. That's exactly what I did, dude.
That's
So his
hilarious, man.
first loop was 6 hours and 34 minutes. And mine was like, I don't know, like 6 hours and 32 minutes. And then the next loop, we start off the next loop. And then I need to do 5 hours for the 30-mile loop. And then the next loop, 5 hours. And then I would have got it. So I start the second loop. We finished that second loop, and then the hobo runner's gone. I lost the hobo runner.
Oh man.
And so I don't know where my buddy Angel's at. I don't know where my hobo runner guy is. And there's this another mythical creature that I've been chasing this whole race. Every aid station I go to, they're like, first place is right ahead of you. And I'm like, I'm first place. They're like, no, you're not. There's somebody in front of you. I'm like, where the heck is this guy? And so every person I see, I'm like, that's him. So I start gassing it. Like, I'm like, start hitting like 7.5 minute miles. Like, yeah, I'm about to just blaze past this dude. And I look over and it's like a 50K runner. And so I forgot that like the color of the bibs are like different distances.
Oh
So
yeah.
some people, they shouted out to me and they're like messaged me on Strava. They're like, hey, it was fun racing with you, even though we were not even in the same distance.
That's funny, man.
So I'm like, all right, I'm never gonna catch this guy. He's just too fast. Like, whatever. So then I haven't done much night runs. Uh, very little. So strap the headlamp on. Um, started off that third loop, and that's when it was about 8 o'clock at night. About 7:30, it got dark, and my mom's there, my sister's there, Paul's there. They got the sign up. He's lighting me cigarettes as I go by. Like that's just a trademark of mine. Like I don't deprive yourself of what you really like to do. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's usually how I either start or finish a race. But um, yeah, I headed off into the darkness, and no buddies with me, just out there chilling. And my stomach went nuts. It was probably mile 76.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold anything down anymore. So I didn't use Tailwind like I said I was going to use. I didn't drink Tailwind at all. I just ate peanut butter and e-gels
Mm.
and water.
What were they at the aid stations there? Were they serving Tailwind? What were they serving?
They had water, Gatorade, I think, and then they had like they make you coffee and they had soda and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
their main electrolyte drink was Gatorade because I had contacted the director, early on. I did a little bit of research.
Yeah.
Uh, but I just stick to water and peanut butter. I ate probably like 2 jars of peanut butter because that fat, I don't know what it is about the fat, like because the sugars all ride these like highs and lows, like all like, but the lows are like super depressing and I can't handle it. I'll just quit the race and go home. And
Yeah.
but that fat, it's like I just like it's consistent. And I had good energy. Like, so if you look at my times, like I actually got faster. Each loop I got faster. It wasn't like negative splits, but you could just see like there was a few minutes faster each loop. But I couldn't hold anything down. Mile 76. So I had 24 miles to go, and it wasn't on the trail, everybody. So if you're hearing this, I went off trail, but there was some bathroom issues that I've never encountered. I have a strong stomach. I could eat, like I said, a ribeye steak and a cigarette and be like fine.
Yeah.
And I was like projectile boo booing across the forest. And it was very uncomfortable. I don't know if it was the e-gels or the peanut butter, but yeah, so there was no food. I couldn't even drink water anymore the last 24 miles. Um,
Wow.
and I was just like, well, here we go. Just hanging out, hanging out. And I actually started getting, I just noticed something. I don't know if this is the issue with a sodium issue or what, but my heart rate kept dropping. And so if I didn't run faster, my heart rate would have been like too low and I would have just been like, I have to have a sweet spot. If I'm between like heart rate like 140 and 150, I can run fast and I have no cramps. But if it shoots down, if I hit like 120, 130, like I start cramping up real bad because it started to get cold and I needed that body heat.
Yeah.
So I got faster, but I wasn't putting anything in. So I'm like losing my mind. Uh
Yeah. That's like a car running on no gas, basically.
yeah. I think I had some ginger ale and then I forgot I have this little thing. I call it like it's like my little tool kit. I had like some caffeine gum that I completely forgot about. And it was probably mile 92. That was a really good time to remember that you have caffeine gum.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So I've got because people think that like, oh my gosh, 17 hours, you're super tired. Like that must seem like forever, and it's not. Like 30-minute sections go by like instantly,
Yeah.
and like you forget everything. You're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And I ate that gum and I started hauling ass. I was like, I started going and I found the mythical creature. Mile 94, I found him. The first
Really?
guy.
Wow.
Oh, what's his name? Dang it. I don't remember his name. Sorry, guy. But I his legs blew up, man. And he was
Hmm.
on mile 94 and he was just walking. And I was like, hey, bro. And I didn't even look at him. I didn't want to say nothing. I mean, I just had the caffeine gum. So I'm like hauling. I'm
Yeah.
going like 8.5 minute miles now, just like murdering. And I cruise by and I come in and let's see, 16 hours and uh 34 minutes. So the current record was 16 hours and 39 minutes. So I can beat it by 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I go, so like I'm excited. Well, I feel miserable. I'm like, my family's like, oh, you did it. I'm like, I'm so tired. I hate my life. I don't want to run anymore. I hate running. And so we go to the hotel. So I got a hotel afterwards. And we're having breakfast. And then there's the mythical creature. He's staying at the same hotel as me. He's like, are you the guy that passed me at mile 94? And I was like, yeah, bro, that's me.
Man.
But
What a finish, man. He just
he
didn't
was
have the caffeine gum, I guess, man. So,
oh, he's fast, dude. He did the first 50 miles in 7 hours.
wow.
And so that's just going out too fast, I think, because he was going for sub 15. And I'm like, that course record is there by somebody who's pretty quick. Like, I'm sure there's people that are a lot faster than him, but I think trying to knock an hour and a half off his time is a little greedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a cool story, man. Like really, that's really cool to hear how that played out. And I love your nicknames, man. They're not even your nicknames, they're just the names. You got the Hobo Runner and then you got the Mythical Man. Love that, dude.
Oh, the aid stations, like these people were runners. Like these people knew exactly what somebody was like. She's like, oh, I know exactly what you need. You need some caffeine. You need a chocolate waterfall or a Coca-Cola waterfall. It was like a Mento and a Coca-Cola. She's like, you're gonna vomit and you're gonna crap your pants, but your stomach's gonna feel better. Like she's like, I know the perfect thing to give you. I was just like, awesome, let's do it.
That is what I don't know if I've heard of that. So you take a Minto and you drink some Coca-Cola and you just puke your guts out.
That's the thing. I think that's what she said. It might have been a different type of candy, but it was Coca-Cola and something.
I think that's it. And did that work for you?
Uh, I didn't throw up, but I went out the other end.
Oh yeah.
But my stunt. So my whole goal was to not use the aid stations at all, to not even look at them. When they're like, "Hey," I'm like, "Thank you, I love you, thank you for being here," and just kind of like keep running. Because when I did the North Texas Ultra, I looked at my time on Strava and I'm like, "Oh man, I spent 34 minutes at aid stations,"
Wow.
and I'm like, "I can't do that again." And that was just a 50 miler.
Yeah.
So I was just hauling, man, and I had to stop somewhere, man. My stomach just hurt so bad.
Yeah. Well, congrats, man. Eh,
Thanks so much.
Very, very well earned. Very well earned, I have to say. Um, yeah, that's really neat, man. Really, I'm excited. I'm excited for what you have in the future. Do you have any races planned as we speak?
So OK Runner is a shoe store here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it may be just because I've annoyed them so much. I was like a puppy that would never leave, or like a cat that kept coming to get milk or something. And they're like, oh, let's let the poor fella in. And so like they kind of took an interest in me and kind of, have been helping me out and supporting me on some of these races. And I'm kind of asking, what they're looking at, what they think, something that maybe I should try out. But I'm definitely gonna do Thunderbird if this giant golf size blister heals. I'm doing Thunderbird 100K in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool.
No more 100 milers for a little bit, at least a few months.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you at all. I'm surprised you're doing 100K in 3 weeks, but hey,
I feel like if you're trained, then you can just recover and then just go hit another race. Because like having to train all over again for 3 or 4 months just sounds miserable.
yeah. We'll see the science, or we'll see how the science plays out in 3 weeks, if that science works or not. So, I did want to ask you, by the way, what kind of shoes do you wear? Like, what brand? I am curious.
Um, so I got the width of my feet are double A, which is like the skinniest feet you can have.
Okay, yeah.
They're like 3.5 inches wide. And
You-
my arches are super high. So I have not found a shoe that works for me. Um, because if I get a thin shoe, I'll just like fall over because it's like I'm on stilts. And then the wide shoe, which I've used speed goats, Hoka speed goats for every single trail race I've ever done.
Yeah,
Um, but they're super wide. But I need like I like the way they do me well.
yeah,
But I'm still looking. I'm still searching for that thing that's not going to give me a golf size blister.
yeah. Okay, I was just curious, man. I was just curious. Um, so, anyways, but thanks for sharing, bro. And thanks for coming on and spending time on the podcast. Um, we have been on for I don't know how long now, but we hit our time. I was hoping for around an hour, so we hit that, bro. And I'm glad you got to share your race experience. People got to hear that, so I know what the title is now. I can name it the Pumpkin Holler 100 Champion. So that's what I wanted the title. I'm glad we got to hit on it a little bit. But with that, do you have anything else that you would like to tell someone listening? Like some, I don't know, advice, anything on your mind that you wanted to share to anybody listening?
Um, that if anybody's going through like some issues, like some depression or anxiety or mental issues, or like feeling hopeless or
Yeah,
feeling like it's never going to get better, that these are just seasons in your life. Like you, um, I don't know what's going to do it for you, but for me, accepting Jesus in my life has changed my life dramatically. And you don't have to feel like that anymore. Like you don't have to um stew in that and be alone in that. Like there's someone who can be there with you at all times, even if you are alone. Like Jesus is with you always. So um that's really all I got to say. Thank you very much for putting me on here. I hope I didn't talk too much because I get excited, dude. I start spazzing out.
no, I've had my tiers of people who have come on, and I've had a few people where like they were the best I've ever had, but you really have been the best guest I've had, I have to say. As far as like just the flow, the stories, your character, I think you're one of the most what's the word? Interesting and entertaining guests I've ever had. So,
Thank you, man. It really does mean a lot.
yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.